So within the Goron graveyard, you want to run forward and use the Lens of Truth to see the ghost, and then speak with him to hear his sad tale. Once he's done talking, for some odd reason he's still visible, and you no longer need the lens in order to see him. I assume this is because you can't use the lens and the ocarina at the same time, so it probably confused people, and that's why Nintendo did it this way. I think they found that, people started using the ocarina and they're like, oh no, I can't see him anymore. So they'll start using the lens, and then they can't, you know what I mean? Anyway, the clue he gave you was pretty obvious, but you have to play the Song of Healing to heal his sorrows, which will seal his regrets and put them within a mask. So after that sad scene is over with, you'll then receive the second transformation mask in the game, the Goron Mask, which allows you to transform into a Goron anytime you wish, just like the Deku Mask. Now, as usual, the first time you use the mask, you are forced to watch a freaky cutscene of Link screaming, but after that you can simply press any button to skip this transformation movie, making this much faster. Now, Darmani asked you to read the tombstone, which has the deeds he accomplished in life written on it. That translates to instructions for people who may potentially one day use his soul to battle enemies. Just in case. Might be good to put a few tips there. We have two different categories to read, but you better check them both because there's a test afterwards. Not really, I was just kidding. It's pretty straightforward, really. Under techniques for action, it explains that Gorons are super strong, so they can push, pull, and lift heavy things. Yeah, and Gorons are compassionate. Talk about smashing stuff already! You can use the A button to roll around if you have magic, and you can also make spikes appear that will hurt enemies. Now that's what I'm talking about. As a side note, it gently informs you that Gorons sink like rocks in water. I just presume that's even worse after you eat, but either way, you can just take off the Goron Mask whenever you're near water. Under techniques for battle, it says you can use B to use fire punches, which deal twice as much damage as your regular sword attack. You can also hit B repeatedly to do a flurry of attacks in a row. There's a little bit slow, but they're quite effective. And lastly, you can hold the A button to curl into a ball, and then press the B button to perform a Goron Pound, which creates a shockwave damaging nearby enemies. So punches with B, it smashes things. It's quite literally the exact same thing as the Megaton Hammer from Ocarina of Time, only it's just a little more user-friendly. Press A to roll around. If you do it for long enough, you can charge up spikes and damage enemies, but I'll show more about that later. You can also press B while you're curled into a ball with A, and you can do a Goron Pound. It's really great for running up to enemies and then pounding them. So it's pretty sweet. You can damage enemies. Now you can also use the R button to defend. It defends from all angles, however you can't move while you do this. It's a little bit better than using the Deku Mask because this way you don't burn. Also, a cool little tidbit is that Gorons can walk in lava, which we will be using here soon. So the Goron outside mentioned that there's a hot spring that is underneath the gravestone, so stand behind it, and then while wearing the Goron Mask, you can pull heavy objects. So grab it with A, and then pull it back to reveal the hot spring, which is nice and steamy. You can then swipe this up in a bottle to get some hot spring water. It's only hot for a limited time, though, and then it cools off and becomes fresh spring water. So with that in hand, you want to run outside to test it out. Now, before you get too far, the Goron from earlier will call out to you. Apparently, they mistake you for Darmani because you look so similar, and with good reason. Just like with any other transformation mask in this game, the people think you are the person whose spirit resides within the mask. Now, in this case, that makes you the Goron hero, Darmani III. The Goron then gives you another hint about the hot spring water that is under the grave in case you didn't do that yet. You want to run over to his frozen brother and then test it out by emptying out your bottle of hot spring water on him. This will melt the ice, and then you'll get the privilege of witnessing a humorous conversation. So the two Gorons essentially give you hints on where you need to go next. Now our objectives are to find the Goron Elder, and ultimately to march off to Snowhead and find a way to stop the blizzard that is freezing everything. You want to run back into the shrine and then snag another bottle of hot spring water. Now with it, we're going to run to the road to Goron Village, which is in between Mountain Village and Goron Village. And the easiest thing to do at this point is to use the Song of Soaring to warp to Mountain Village. This saves us the headache of jumping down. Now if you do decide to go the other route, then run outside and take off the Goron Mask, because there's water below and you sink like a rock while wearing the Goron Mask, as the stone inside told us. You'll need to use your regular form to swim in the water, so jump off the ledge and use the analog stick to move over while you're falling so that you will land in the water. And then climb out and put on the bunny hood if you have it so that you can make this a little bit faster. So one more thing you can do that is worth mentioning is you can use the Goron Mask to roll off the ledge. The thing with this is you have to make sure you back up sufficiently so that you have enough room to charge up the Goron roll. But then if you can manage to charge it up completely by the time you get the ledge, you can shoot off it and roll off and miss the water completely. And then you can continue rolling towards the road to Goron Village. This is pretty sweet feeling and it looks awesome, so something else worth trying. I recommend you just run past all the enemies here, since we don't have much time before the spring water cools down, and they're just here to get in your way anyway. I personally could kill them very quickly myself, but I'm not going to count on a lot of you being able to do that, so it's probably smarter to just avoid them entirely. And as I already demonstrated earlier, you can use the hot spring water to melt big old chunks of ice. Now on the third island here, there's one covering a hole in the center. You want to stand close to it, and then be careful not to touch it, because it will hurt you, and then you want to use your bottle of hot spring water to melt it. This reveals another hot spring down in that hole that you can use for a shortcut later. So you'll see what I mean in a moment, but if you messed up and didn't make it in time, then unfortunately we're going to have to return to the Goron graveyard and get some more hot spring water. Now our next objective is to find the Goron Elder. Now the first big building in Goron Village is the Goron Shrine. He's supposed to be hanging out in there, and to open the door you have to either speak with the Goron on top of the ledge above it, the entrance, and then get him to use a Goron Pound, or you can open it yourself by wearing the Goron Mask, curl into a ball with A, and then press B to perform your very own Goron Pound. This will also open the door. Either way, once you get the door open, you want to head inside to find that elderly Goron that we're looking for. As you enter, you'll get an overview of the shrine, and one of the things you'll notice immediately is that there's a baby Goron that is crying quite loudly, and once you regain control, you want to go down the ramp if you want, but it just leads to a few Gorons and a shop that's currently overpriced due to the weather. You want to roll up the ramp to find several other Gorons, and you can learn what's going on. As we already knew, Darmani marched off to Snowhead to cleanse the temple, but he got blown off the mountain and died. And because he obviously wasn't very successful, the Goron Elder has gone too, and is on his way there now. In the meantime, though, the Gorons are babysitting the Goron Elder's son, who is crying in the throne room. Apparently they don't exactly excel in the whole childcare thing. Now our goal is to speak with the crying child, because we won't be able to move onward in the game until we do. Now, as I briefly mentioned in the last video, you could have actually entered the shrine early and spoken with the child on your way to the Lone Creek Shrine where we got the Lens of Truth before you ever met Darmani, and that would have saved you a little bit of time, but in the attempt to spare confusion, though, I'm going to do it right now so that all that related stuff is kind of together. After you've spoken with the Goron Elder son, go ahead and leave the shrine. That's all we have to do here. Okay, so the Goron Elder is on his way to Snowhead, but the Gorons don't think he got very far, and the game is a bit vague at this point, but they just expect you to explore, and it turns out that he freezes every night and thaws in the morning, so he's steadily working his way forward. The Goron Elder is frozen inside giant snow boulders along the way, and so he's steadily getting closer each day. Because of this, he's found in different locations depending on what day it is, and either way, you're going to have to need some hot spring water to thaw him out of his frozen state. On our way there, I brought some hot spring water and melted this ice chunk covering another hot spring that is here on the road to Goron Village. This is just a shortcut and it makes this next part a bit easier, but it's not required. Now if you unlocked it with me, then you can drop down into the hole and grab some hot spring water here since it's close, and then you can go back up topside and begin hunting for the Goron Elder. Now, as I explained, he steadily works his way forward. On the first day, he's found in a snow boulder just north of the hot spring that's on the third island. You want to roll down the ledge and then use a fire punch to reveal him. On the second day, he's found in the same area, but he's made a little more progress. He's at the base of the ramp on the far western side of the map. On the third day, he's in Mountain Village, inside a boulder, right next to the owl statue. It's a very simple place to remember, though I think most people overlook this one because it's in an odd location. Either way, choose the correct one depending on what day it is for you, and then fire punch the giant snowball or use bombs or the blast mask to break it. And then you want to thaw him with the hot spring water that you can get either from the Goron graveyard that is in Mountain Village or inside the underground cavern on the third island on the road to Goron Village, which I showed a little earlier. And whichever one you choose, depending on which is closer, you want to go ahead and use that to thaw out the Goron Elder. Once you finally found him, you can speak with him in your normal form or your Deku form to get him to explain the situation in Goron Village. He won't accept your help though, so you're going to have to speak with him while wearing the Goron Mask. Now at this point, the Goron Elder will tell you to leave him alone if you continue to harass him. Now the only way to continue is if you have spoken with his son inside the Goron Shrine. Now he actually mentions his crying son when you talk to him in your normal form, and you're supposed to be able to figure that out, that you need to go talk with his offspring, then you can go talk with him again, but I think the game is still a bit vague about that. It's such an arbitrary thing compared to slaying a bunch of bad guys and stuff that... Anyway, once he realizes that his son misses him, he'll finally agree to help you, sort of, by teaching you a lullaby for his son, so you can stop his son's tears. Once you have learned the lullaby intro, it's time to return to the Goron Shrine and play it for his son. While wearing the Goron Mask, you can roll up these steep ledges, so that's pretty cool. Once you finally get there, you want to stand in front of the throne and use your ocarina to play Darmani's drums. You want to play the Goron intro for the Goron Elder son, and then he will teach you the last bit. With a full-blown Goron Lullaby successfully learned, we're ready to march off to Snowhead. You want to join me for the next video, folks, and I'll show you how to do that, as well as collect some goodies along the way.